I'm with Loan Depot, and I've already been working with most of you guys too. But it's exciting to see the team growing, and like honestly, like from Palmdale days where it's just Danny and Vic, to see this is huge. So congratulations, like this is awesome. I brought some coffee, some bagels, and I didn't want to take too much time, but I don't know what you guys had in store for the meeting.
If you want to go over especially new agents, because I know new agents they don't know how to qualify. Like when I give it to you, kind of like I give you idea of what to look for, like income. Kind of we pre-qualify them before we send them to you.
For sure.
Can you just explain to new agents what they need to look for before just sending you anybody?
Yeah. So a lot of it is going to come within that conversation when you have your buyer consultation. And in a way, I want to let you guys know that I'm a partner for you guys. I'm here to help you guys out to give mortgage advice, and it's free. It's not like they have to go through me or anything like that. But I'm here to just help you guys out in any way, and just keep me in mind when you're having that buyer consultation. You guys can always reach out to me prior, and we can set up a 3-way call. We can do Zoom, so I'm always available for that. But definitely, when you're talking to a buyer, the first it's usually 4 questions that I'll have that really determines where they're at in their buying stage. If they're ready right now, or if they're looking maybe in the next 6 months or 12 months. You kind of know based on those 4 questions. So the first thing is always FICO. I always say, do you kind of know where your FICO score is at, or have you ran your credit recently? Do you know where your scores are at? That's a big indicator that right away it's going to tell you if yes or no. So typically you're looking for 600 FICO or higher. That's where you start seeing more options opening up, with FHA or conventional loans with different programs. When they're under 600, that's where we still want to have a conversation, because there's ways to help them increase that credit score, and that's something that I also focus on, so we can nurture them and get them over for the next 6 months and have them ready. When they're telling you that they're in the low 500s, things like that, that's where that this is going to be one an incubation one that might take about a year or so to be ready. We still want to have if there's very they have, well, let's back up. With the FICO would be that. The second thing is going to be income. So I always ask that question so are you currently employed, self-employed, or retired? With that, then they tell you right away I'm not employed right now. I'm getting unemployment. That's already okay. That's one for 6 months. How soon are you looking to go back to work? Because depending on their situation, as soon as they get an offer letter and let's say they get their first pay stub, they might be ready to go and be able to buy it. So that's the second question. The third thing is going to be assets. How much funds do you have set aside for your purchase as far as your down payment? That's also another thing that's going to show you how ready they are. If they come back and they're like, hey, I have 25K or 100K ready to go for my down payment. You have those 3 questions asked and everything checks off. They're ready to go. That's a client that's hey, let's get you pre-approved, and that's somebody that you can literally get over the weekend going and start putting in offers once they're ready. So just based on those questions, you kind of line it up to see if they're ready, if they're hot. Let's give them a call right away. Let's set up a consultation. Let's get you pre-approved, or let's set up an appointment where we can at least set up a structure or a plan to get them ready in the next few months. So that's kind of those are the main things that I guess I pretty much look at. That would help, I guess, when you're qualifying your client over the phone and stuff.
And the more questions you ask, like Steve said, the more you're going to be aware and knowledgeable. If it's a hot lead, cold lead, nurture leads, somebody who you need to get on the phone with Steve right away because they're going to be ready in 2 weeks and we need that approval letter. For someone who's going to be down the line 6, 7, 8 months, that would be probably an email and just, including Steve, it's hey, when you have time, have that conversation, because we know it's not gonna be going anywhere anytime soon. So this is for you to kind of leverage yourself as well, from hot to warm to nurture. Steve is added on Follow Up Us.
Yep.
So anybody who has something going on with Steve, honestly, you don't have to bombard him with text messages. It will be documented on Follow Up Boss, and you can tag him, and he can get it as a text message. Are you getting it as text or email?
I'll get text, email.
So, and it would be documented there, so we would stay on track of our notes as well. It benefits all of us. So, talk briefly about VA buyers. We're working with a lot of VA buyers. Would they qualify, not qualify?
For sure.
Because we have a lot of questions coming up on VAs.
VA is one of my favorite loans. I think VA definitely.
One of my favorite too, honestly.
VA for like clients, like number one, they're veterans. You know, they were out there, like, you know, they're troops, like whether they were in wars or, you know, out overseas, like for them to be able to come and say, hey, they're gonna buy a house with no down payment, that's huge, you know. So I love doing those type of loans. You do have to be on top of it, you know, because there's certain things that are different from like conventional financing and other loans that are out there. You know, they're very flexible when it comes to debt to income ratios. So that allows us to maximize our purchase power, especially in this market. So, you know, credit wise, that's the same thing too. Like I've had some VAs under 600 FICO still be able to qualify. So there's always an opportunity there too. But yeah, no, VAs, it's like, you know, if they're veterans and you know that they have income and credit is okay or wherever it's at, that's somebody that we want to definitely, you know, keep a lookout to get them approved. On our end, you know, we're definitely pushing to get them better rates, you know, lower interest rates than most because it's a veteran. So we have a lot of pricing specials through Loan Depot to help them out as well. And you know, we're always, as far as time sensitive too, some lenders might take a little longer because it can be, you know, different underwriting and stuff like that. For us, we have like our own special like underwriting team that just focuses on veterans. So it allows us to still be competitive with contingencies. You know, like when you're trying to put in a contingency, like, you know, 10-day contingency, or even in some cases, we got to go in with no contingencies at all. You want to make sure that their approval is solid, you know, and that's one thing that, you know, I'm going to be working with them to making sure and letting you know, like, hey, this one we can submit with no contingencies and compete with those other, you know, conventional offers that are putting 20% down and stuff like that. We can compete with them because of those time frames. And closing costs, that's another portion too. There's two ways usually that closing costs can be taken care of. So, you know, back in the day, the seller, we can ask for seller credit, they pay for closing costs, they have no down payment.
Like I said, back in the day.
That's not a question anymore.
Well, my parents just did it and they got the seller to pay for everything.
Like, I remember with Vic, one of our first files at VA, and he literally got money back at closing. Like he got a deposit back, so the only thing out of pocket was his appraisal, you know? But that's out of the question now. So the other thing that the other conversation we have is, do they want to finance some of their closing costs with their loan? And the way that works is with the interest rate. The rates are so low right now that, let's say the floor rate, you know, your par rate is at 2.4, 2.3, but we can finance, let's say they need $7,000 towards closing costs, we can go up to a 2.6, 2.7, which is still, I think, a super excellent rate. But that right there creates a credit to cover their closing costs. So if we do it right, we can still get to the point where they're not coming in with too much funds out of pocket. Really, they just need enough to open up escrow. And then if we cover the closing costs, then they get that money back after closing. So that's one way that we can do it. And honestly, that lender credit actually works for conventional and FHA as well. So like when we have that conversation about assets for clients, let's say they only have enough for their down payment, I can let them know that, hey, we have an option to finance their closing costs, and it doesn't have to do with any down payment assistance or any special programs. It's just utilizing the current rate market to help them finance that closing part, you know, the closing costs. So.
As far as the down payment, like for the VA,
Yeah.
do they have the option of putting the down payment if they choose?
Yeah, that's definitely an option too. So you know, they have, you know, the option with no down payment, but if they do want to put some down payment down to help lower their monthly payment, that's an option as well. Yeah.
Veterans, disabled veterans, are they different from regular veterans?
So that's one thing that with VA financing, there is one, like the only down part is a VA funding fee that the VA department charges the veteran. If they're 10% or more disabled, that funding fee gets waived. So it doesn't get, you know, they don't have to pay for that. That funding fee gets added to the loan amount. So let's say the total loan was going to be $300,000, but then the funding fee is like 10 grand. They end up financing $310,000. So that gets waived if they have any certain level of disability, and that's something that I asked them too, as when we're doing that VA consultation. You know, we ask them that so we can give them an accurate quote on how much their payment is going to be and all that stuff. And then also the key thing too, if they have any disability, you know, if they're getting any VA pension, or VA, you know, service-related disability income, because that's also something that you can utilize to help them qualify. So I think one file that we had, he was a VA, he no job, but he had you know, the VA service-related disability coming in. He had a separate pension from VA, and even there was a program that he qualified for because he had because of PTSD. There was a certain program that he qualified for that gave him like $5 grand a month, and the spouse for pretty much like taking care of him another $5 grand a month. So with no employment, we were able to qualify for a house for like $500,000 in Fort Sill. So it was just utilizing any income, and that's always a question. Like, you know, if you're not working, what other sources of income, you know, are you receiving? You know, Social Security, VA pensions, disability, because all that stuff can be utilized to help them qualify.
But does the disability have to be service related?
No, well, the disability for the VA funding fee, it does have to be service related.
Okay.
Yeah. But after the fact, and it would be more with Social Security. I think that they could be possibly getting like a Social Security disability. Yeah.
For vets at a certain age, do they get any tax break?
Actually, they do. So that's one thing too. That is really cool. And a lot of the clients there, they actually don't really know about this either. But I'll confirm. But I want to say retirement age. I think it's 65. And also if there's any disservices related disabilities, if they're like 100% or 90%, I want to say, I'll double check those things, but they can actually submit a form to LA County where they actually get a tax break on their property taxes. So
it's not done by the lender, it's done through the taxes.
It's done through the taxes, so it's
That's
done.
what Charles was talking about.
Yeah.
Is it the same in every county?
Yeah.
So like my parents live in Kern County. So
Kern County, I gotta double check with I know with LA County for sure because I've had several clients do it, but I want to say first they might have it too, but
I think
something
if
to
it's a
double check.
program, I think all counties,
Yeah.
I think they abide by it.
Yeah.
It might be a little different as far as how much they can save, but I believe,
Yeah.
I
I'd
should
say, yeah.
And it's huge because like with the property taxes, you know, like the rates are still there, and sometimes Mello-Roos and things like that. But you know, you're talking about saving like $500 to $700 depending on where they're buying. You know, I believe the Mello-Roos would still have to be like if they have the Mello-Roos or the special tax assessment, that's probably still something that'll still be part of the payment. But their property taxes in a whole, like that's something that can get waived depending on their situation. Yeah.
Because it's broken at monthly payments. So like Remo was saying, we have a guy that he's past retirement age.
Yeah.
He's 100% disabled, veteran. So those are his concerns, was the monthly payment.
Yeah. And I'll send you I'll send you guys like the form. There's a form that they fill out. It's all through the VA department through LA County. There's like a special form and it tells you how to submit it and all that stuff. But as soon as you guys close, he can go in, submit the application, and I believe it takes about 30 to 60 days. They'll update it and they'll relay that information to the lender, or they'll send him that letter, and he can just, you know, let's say if I do the loan, or if the lender just send it to the lender and tell them to send it to customer service so they can update his monthly payment.
they're really behind right now. We're going
Yeah.
on 6 months and still haven't gotten
Oh,
our
serious?
like
With the county?
Yeah.
Oh man, okay.
They took like 40 days from the day that we submitted it
Yeah.
to even send it back to us, and they were like, oh, we need this extra form. We have everything else, but we need you to fill out this one, like something from their office.
Yeah.
So we just sent it back again and we still haven't heard anything.
Wow.
Yeah, and I sent that in November of last year.
Oh man. Okay.
Yeah. So it might be delayed, but it is a thing.
Scratch what I said about
Yeah.
the 60 days. It can take 6 months. It can take 6 months, right guys?
Again, with VA, since we are on the VA subject, and I don't want to overwhelm them.
No, for sure.
Termite.
Okay.
I know there's been some changes recently with termite. Now the buyer can pay for the termite. Can you explain that to us a little bit? And what about section 1 and section 2?
For that, honestly, I gotta check, you know, as far as any changes with the termite. So I don't want to give any wrong information about that. I'll double check. Typically, the termite used to have to be paid by the seller, but you know, with the changes and stuff like that, they're giving those choices, I guess, to the buyer and seller to, you know, whoever wants to take care of that. With VA, it has to get done. Like that's something that is required by the lender. Like we're gonna ask, hey, can we get a copy of the termite report? If there's anything that's on there, can we get clearance?
Section 1 and section 2.
Yeah, it has to be completely clear.
Yeah, so it has to show that it's clear, and then we, that's something that won't allow us to get final approval until we have that. So that's something, you want to address up front when you get into escrow, is like, who's gonna take care of the termite? Let's get this going right away so we don't get delayed at the end of the, when we're trying to get final approval. But I'll double check on as far as specific, like as
Yeah,
far as
because
the
we did one, the
sections.
reason I'm asking, we did one, we were on the listing side, and we had the buyer pay for the termite and the repairs.
Okay.
And the lender approved it.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
VA lender.
Yeah,
So, just, I don't know if it's a different lending facility or
Yeah.
it should be VA.
yeah, it's gonna be pretty much all.
Across the board, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.